Have you ever been told that maybe you talk too much or maybe not enough? Well, maybe that's your sign that you should start your own podcast. Find out why we did today here on the 5 Squad. All right. Hello and welcome, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 5 Squad. You will see that we are on the same side of the table today. And if you're just listening, I'm letting you know that my wife and I are sitting on the same side of the table today.
Same side.
And that's because we have a guest on our show today. And the guest on our show today is going to be the magnificent Miguel. And Miguel, for those that don't know him, is one of the halves that actually makes our podcast run and tick. And he helps us create the thing that we're doing right now. And Miguel, how are you doing today?
Sí. Nah.
So,
no, I'm doing a
background on that.
Yeah.
We were all speaking Spanish. Well, my wife was speaking Spanish with them before the show today. And
Hola, me llamo Haley Andrews.
yes, I am the whitest person in the room, apparently. But I'm okay with that because I know that I don't speak Spanish. So I'm completely okay with that. But Miguel, back to you, brother.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
Hey, I am doing fantastic. I'm just feeling grateful right now because I'm actually on the other side of the camera today, which is kind of rare because we love doing podcasts, and that's why we started this business. Honestly, we just wanted to find a place for us to do our own podcast. But now we're doing so much for other people to run the business that we actually don't have too much time to actually have our own podcast.
Well, we're super glad that you were willing and able to be on this side of the camera.
Because it was actually a last minute thing. You weren't expected to be here when you got here today.
I
you didn't really
do
know
my hair or anything.
Well, you knew what to wear.
Yeah, he wore
that matters.
he wore the Chastain Ford hat. So
That's
There you
not
go.
what I
you know,
meant.
he knew what to do, but
That's not what I meant.
But man, I appreciate you stepping in and kind of filling in. But today, what we kind of want to talk about is we want to talk about podcasting, and we want to talk about why it is important for businesses, why it's a great creative outlet for
what it can do for your business.
For what I mean, and I think Haley, you'll be able to chime in a little bit on this about how it's kind of like a low pressure situation for video content.
Sure.
Definitely.
It is.
So
Definitely.
I'll let you start. Just give me a little bit of a background on how Panorama brand came to be and tell our audience a little bit more about what you guys do here.
Yeah, so basically we are a full production studio. My background is in video production, kind of like yourself as well.
Yep.
And I was doing a lot of commercial work for different brands and stuff like that. But I see that, like, for me, I love trends. I'm a trend guy.
Ooh, me
I
too.
see how trends, like, you know, some
See,
people...
I'm not the
we see
trendy
how
person.
trends are just, like, popping and
I
showing
love
and
it.
starting. And so we just want to, like, jump on that ship. Like, with AI, everything's shifting. And if you're not using AI for your business, then you're staying behind.
Right.
That's another trend that's going on. But going back to what I was saying, I think podcast is so important because back in the day, I feel like, you know, we come from the radio, which I believe the radio is kind of dead in a way.
Right.
When it comes to like advertisement and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah, for sure.
I've talked to other like business owners who used to put a lot of money, maybe this company that I work with, maybe $100,000 a week.
Holy
they used
moly.
to do this maybe 4 years ago.
Wow.
Now it's dead. They maybe spend $2,000 a week.
I think my original vision of podcasts was like only rich people or like famous people did them. But like as social media becomes more, important and more like
It's
on
more just-
trend,
yeah.
I think podcasts are becoming a voice for like just the regular people like you and me, and you guys get to produce that.
Exactly. And the other thing that I think is fascinating is that brands, whether it's a corporation, a big corporation, or just like a personal brand, people are noticing that they need to be able to connect to their audience somehow. And big brands, they need to, they don't want to be behind those big desks and they just kind of like just try to do all this marketing on TV or like doing these ads on the Super Bowl and stuff like that. They actually want to be in front of people, actually with their customers. They want to connect. And I think podcast is an amazing way to connect with your audience, because think about it, like if you're doing podcasts and somebody's listening to your podcast and they're watching you maybe, 10 hours a week or a month or whatever, eventually exactly. If they're listening or watching you 10 hours a week, then you're building a connection with your audience.
Yep. Sure.
And they eventually are going to buy something from you if they like you. You know, not everybody's going to want to, but it's just a more intimate, like you were talking about, a way of reaching your audience and connecting with them, you know?
I heard an interesting fact about podcasting, which was that only 1% of podcasts that are started actually make it to episode 21.
Oh, wow. We're close.
Only 1%.
We're halfway there.
I mean, and yeah, we'll be there. This is another 4 batch that we're
But we
doing
couldn't do it
today.
without
Which episode is this?
This
This
episode
is going to be 10.
That is like a big milestone. I would say not even a lot of people getting to episode 10.
Yeah.
Most people are not even into
Well, I
episode
mean,
10.
also too, it helps us too because we realized, you know, and I said this in our very first episode that like, ain't nobody gonna listen to us talk for an hour. Right. So we figured out a way to make it more economical for us to be able to do more of a volume, and breaking it down into these smaller, 10, 15 minute chunks.
That is the smartest thing to do.
But what I think is most beneficial about the podcast for especially us, and especially being able to have it here, not only having the studio, but like I said, giving a voice to like the average Joe, but also for me specifically, the talker. It gives me a place for that, but it also gives people like the moms that I want to talk to and things like that. It gives them a voice. I just feel like there's so many people that have things to say, and this is such a good way to do that.
It's self-expression.
And like you said,
and
low
even
pressure.
If you were treating it like a vent session, like
I could do that.
I mean, it's literally turn on record and go.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about I know you guys work with a lot of different people.
Oh yeah, what kind of people do you work with?
What are some of, and I don't necessarily want to say what's
favorites?
the trend of people that come through here, but like what kind of people do you guys work with?
Entrepreneurs mostly, or well-established business people?
That's a great question. Our goal is to get more well-established business people, I would say, because they are the ones that they also see the trends, and they actually, like for example, in Houston, real estate is big, right?
Yes.
So we are getting a lot of like brokers and people in the real estate, investors and stuff like that. But think about it, like brokers are the ones that they're the business owners of their own brokerage or the business. So they're the ones that actually are wanting their brokers to win and to continue to grow. So we get a lot of brokers. Agents, we don't get so many because they're just like in a different path, or they're waiting for the broker
They're
to
not
pay.
really sure about content yet.
I mean, if you are a real estate agent, listening, it's smart for you to even get in here.
Smart.
It is.
I mean,
if you're not getting,
if you're talking about putting your face or your personal brand out there more, I mean,
because think about a realtor. What
are you doing?
What usually makes someone want to buy a house? It's not necessarily. It's not always just the house. It's
a personal connection.
This is the way to do personal connections now.
At least the easiest way to do it.
I think.
What I tell like agents all the time is like, hey, if you're an agent, you want to sell more homes, go to like different communities, go to different schools. Like let's say you go to this big school in a certain like area, let's say in Katy or like even Tomball or whatever. Go and talk to the principals, right? Do a podcast with the principals, because they know so many.
Do a podcast with people in that community.
And you start growing your brand in that community, and they're gonna refer your business in that community. But by being able to actually being on the mic, being on camera, and not just audio.
And it's not like you're by yourself. But
it's
not like you're by yourself, Like I think that's what's the most low pressure.
Well, right. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine sitting in here by yourself and like getting through a 15-minute?
A solo pod is hard.
It's really hard.
No,
you
I
have to have a certain like, I don't want to say skin for it, but like you have to have a certain kind of personality. I think to have a solo podcast.
And eventually, we're getting at quite a few lawyers. We're starting to get more lawyers, more people in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, I should probably ask my mom
I told
about
her
boss.
We were talking about like old styles of marketing and things like that. And even on the way here, like you see, I think when you come off of 610 getting onto 290 there.
Oh, the billboards.
It's billboard here, billboard here, billboard here, billboard here
so
and it's like $3,500 or so a month for that billboard, if not more, depending on the company that you go with.
Think about how many people you can reach, how many more people you can reach by video and audio like this, rather than how many people don't drive by those billboards.
Or even are looking at them when they do drive by them.
And I think I saw recently y'all did some content for insurance insurance agents too, right? Like
The
Yes.
life insurance agent.
life insurance.
Life insurance, yes, we are doing that too.
Yep.
That one was really informative.
Another cool thing from us is like we're tapping into also the Hispanic Latino community.
Yep.
That's big, and a lot of people they're not a
They're
lot
not
of
as
studios
sure.
out there who actually are like targeting Latinos and Hispanics.
Yeah.
So I think that is a great way for us to help our community and everything.
Another demographic that
Yeah,
needs a
yeah.
voice.
Yeah,
and this is
exactly.
a great
Yeah.
low pressure place to have a voice.
Yeah, yeah,
Place, that's what I think.
And the cool thing, and I know you're gonna kind of understand where I'm coming from. This is like a lot of other podcasts. So we are the premium podcast studio, right? There's not that many studios in Houston, maybe a couple, I would say.
Yeah.
That started the way we did. We started about a year and a half. There was really no competition, right? Because again, we saw the trend.
Right, you
when
got
it is-
on there early.
early, and so it has taken us maybe a year and a half to really get to where we're at right now and actually build clienteles and really grow the business. But the cool thing about this is that my background is in video production, so that's why I already had some amazing high quality cameras, like the you know the FX.
Well,
so
it's
this is a
awesome.
great segue into
Yeah,
what my next
yeah,
question was
yeah,
going
yeah.
to be. But because I also understand video and have my own
Exactly,
video
yeah.
production company and do all of that, I could have done this for us.
For sure.
Right. But I wanted to partner with you guys in doing it because I understood what my time was like and you know what assets I had available to me to be able, I mean, because if we weren't doing it here, we'd be doing it in our dining room.
Exactly,
And it's
yeah.
like that old saying of like, you don't
You say this all the time. You don't work where you live, you don't live
Like,
where you
it's
work.
not-
Yes, yes,
It's not as
that's
comfortable.
true.
You don't feel right. And
But I also think it's important to support partner with other
course.
people
Yeah,
that
yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
it's
Yeah.
just like small businesses supporting other small businesses
Yep.
because the big brands, they're making their money already, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
And,
true.
and it's better to
well,
partner
also
with
Yeah.
people.
too, I mean, kind of part of like some of my new packages that I'm selling for, you know, video clients is actually a podcast style. I call it business development content.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
because some people, what they might not want to do is they might not want to start like a branded podcast, but they need video content, right? So
Yeah,
anybody that I have working with me doing that is going to be doing it here.
Yes.
You guys are already going to be helping me with that. I
Yeah,
help
yeah,
them
yeah,
other
big time.
side with like the distribution and posting all of that stuff and have
social
all
side.
the extras and all of that. But
So let me ask you your question. Why do you think video is so important nowadays?
answer that one.
Yeah.
I mean, video is important now because of I mean, the easiest way to say it is because of how much easier it is to create now. Before it used to
You
be
had the
kind
big-
of well.
Yes.
Before it used to be kind of like a
Yes,
gated
yes,
industry
Right.
in a way. It was either too expensive for
Right, that's
people
what
to
I'm saying,
do,
rich people.
or
Yeah,
it was just too confusing, and it's still somewhat confusing for people. Like I think more and more people are getting comfortable with pulling the camera out and doing something, but
Yeah.
I
It's on
think
your phone.
I think what they get in their head about is like, okay, now how do I make it look nice?
Look good.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
And that's
exactly.
still
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
still something that, you know, people go to school to learn how to do that.
Right.
Or people
Yeah.
spend many years learning proper video editing or better video editing or what have you. And I think that's what still even might hold a lot of people back.
You know what's
Definitely.
interesting?
Video.
Like you're really good in the video side of things, and you're getting better also in the audio side of things. But you
Yeah.
already have that audio side of things, and have great communication skills.
Yeah.
So it's like the perfect match: video and audio.
I
You know
would
what I
say
mean?
we are pretty much.
Yeah, if I was
50-50.
ever
Yeah,
I was ever feeling down one day, I know that she could easily step in and carry an episode or two.
Exactly.
Sure could. Because that's what I like most is I actually kind of plan
Yeah.
some of the text of what we're going to talk about.
So let me
different
ask you another question. How do you plan for a podcast?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer that?
I mean, we can kind of.
I'll
both
let
answer it.
you
Tag
start.
team a little bit. Yeah.
So we have a Google Drive and we kind of type out what I call the bones of it. It's more like an outline. I'm a teacher, so. And then we come up with like what I like to call an umbrella topic.
That's where we start
Okay,
first.
that's
We'll
cool.
like think
Which is what
Like
I
a
use in my
main
classroom
topic,
too.
right?
Like
Yeah.
the main
Umbrella.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. I got you.
because we batch these,
Right.
like we don't come every week and film a new episode.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
you know
yeah.
we're creating a whole month at one
Oh, a
time.
whole month
so
in
we
advance.
create like an umbrella topic.
Okay.
And then from there
Copyright
we'll
that.
break that down into subtopics or like niche topics.
So like 4
around that.
episodes,
Yep.
which is for a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
You pretty much actually already have it.
Yeah,
before
like
you
so
come
our
in.
last batch,
Okay.
if you remember,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you helped edit part of those.
Yeah.
But
I do
we were
remember,
talking
yeah.
about you know working the 9 to 5 or leaving the 9 to 5
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
entrepreneurship
That was a good
from
podcast, a
home
good
and
episode.
stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So that's what we like to do. We like to figure out the overall arc and then break it down.
And the best
from
part about
there.
it is it starts like we take family walks, and usually
Yeah.
it's all of us, but sometimes like yesterday it was just the 2 of us.
Okay.
And so it starts as like a rough
Idea,
conversation,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
Like we're
Yeah.
just on a walk talking, and then we always make all of the content laying in bed.
We'll just literally sit there
we're
and it's
just
like
both
boom, boom,
typing
boom.
Just kind
and-
of typing. Okay.
So,
So,
like,
you
when
get
you-
the main idea,
Yep.
the main topic, and just start adding subtopics to it.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
Pretty
in
much.
the subtopic, we come up with usually like
Four or
so that
five
we
like
get back and forth
points for that
Points.
point.
Okay,
right?
more points for
And-
that point
exactly.
for the point.
So how can we
Yeah.
flesh that out?
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
What our very first one that we did, I did a lot of like typing it out,
Like, word
this
for
is
word.
how I want to say
Oh,
it.
okay,
and,
okay.
And that's in part of my process where it's like.
So for the commercial type stuff and brand films,
Yeah.
that works. But
Yeah.
for
That
this
works.
stuff,
Yeah. No,
it didn't work.
No,
Yeah, no,
it's
it
more
doesn't.
unscripted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unscripted,
Yeah,
yes.
it's better.
Which
for the
I work
podcast.
really well off of.
Yeah.
Him not so much, but that's kind of where our personalities really work.
And y'all
together on
getting
this.
better as you do it more.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
So-
we
it's-
appreciate that.
Yeah,
it,
for sure.
It definitely
Yeah.
does with anything.
Of
it gets
course. It
gets
easier,
easier.
as
Of
you
course.
as you go through
Yeah.
and do it, but.
It gets harder for me.
No way.
I'm joking. But
Yeah, man. I mean,
said the same
we're coming up to the end of our
I can't
episode
believe
here,
it.
so
Yeah.
It literally
So
goes
quick.
by
time
like
flies
that fast.
when you're
Yeah,
having
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
But our next episode is going to feature the other side of Panorama here.
Yes.
And we're going to have Jesus on, and
Yes,
we're
I'm
going to get
excited.
his
I'm excited
his
about it.
take on how all of this came to be for him and what he feels about working with the different people you guys work at.
He looks like a DJ right now. If you
I
guys can
know.
see him,
He's the DJ, behind the scenes
he's
DJ.
the behind the scenes DJ.
Yeah,
and now
yeah,
y'all are
yeah.
about to switch.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
So,
go.
well, thank
But-
you again for having me on, and I'm
We
excited.
appreciate you stepping in. Thanks
We
for
do.
doing the last moment
And
thing.
I wish you all the great success that y'all gonna continue.
We're
to
so
have
grateful
for
that
the
you were here for
podcast.
us.
No,
Yep.
thank you so much.
I appreciate it, man.
Yes,
But-
sir.
Yeah, well, if you guys are out there listening or watching today, we appreciate it. And we
Stay tuned for another episode.
Yeah, we're going to bring in the second half of Panorama Brand Studio and see what Jesus has to say about working with us. But until next week, peace out.